Have you ever felt trapped by your past, labeled by your mistakes, defined by whispers behind your back? Have you ever wanted to break free, only to find that the world refuses to forget? What if I told you that's exactly who Jesus chose to reveal himself to first? Mary Magdalene, a name wrapped in mystery, tangled in rumors, surrounded by controversy. Some have called her a sinner, a prostitute, a woman with a past she could never erase. Others know her as the first witness to the greatest moment in history, the resurrection of Christ. But who was she? And why did Jesus choose her? Her story begins in Magdala, a town by the Sea of Galilee, in what is now modern-day Israel, a land where faith and conflict have been intertwined for centuries. Today, Israel is at the center of the world's greatest religious debates. But long before political battles, long before theological disputes, Magdala was home to one of the most misunderstood figures in the Bible. A woman tormented, a woman bound, a woman set free by Jesus himself. And yet, for thousands of years, her name has been twisted, her story distorted. So I ask you, have you ever been judged for something you could never take back? Have you ever felt trapped by what people say about you? If so, then you already understand a piece of Mary's story. But her story doesn't end in shame. It ends in redemption. The question is, what will yours be? The first time you see her, she is barely human. Her face, once soft, once full of life, is gaunt, hollow, haunted. Her eyes, wide and wild, flicker with something unnatural, something beyond explanation. Mary Magdalene was a woman tormented, a woman trapped, a woman held hostage by something she could not control. The Bible says Jesus cast 7 demons out of her. 7. Was she possessed? Was she sick? Was she lost in the depths of her own mind, drowning in pain no one could see? We don't know the details, but we do know this. She was bound by forces stronger than her will, bound by shame, by fear, by voices in her head that refused to be silent, bound by a past that refused to let her go. The world looked at her and saw nothing but darkness. They whispered as she passed. They pitied her, feared her, judged her. But no one tried to save her. No one except Jesus. Imagine living in a world where people only saw your darkness, where no one believed you could change. Have you ever felt trapped like that? Then, one day, he came. She didn't expect him. She didn't know that the ground beneath her feet was about to shake, that the chains wrapped around her soul were about to be broken. She looked up, and for the first time, she saw him, the man called Jesus, the one people whispered about, the one who spoke with authority no priest had ever carried, the one who touched lepers and forgave prostitutes and ate with sinners. And for the first time, she felt something she had long forgotten: hope. He looked at her, not with disgust, not with fear, but with compassion. And then, with a voice that carried the power of the heavens, he spoke. Mary. One word. That's all it took. No rituals, no long prayers, no sacrifice. Just one word, and the darkness left her. She fell to the ground, her body trembling, her breath ragged. She was free, the voices gone, the chains shattered, the weight lifted. Mary Magdalene was no longer a prisoner, and she never looked back. She didn't run home. She didn't return to the life she once knew. She followed him. If Jesus set you free, would you follow him without hesitation? Or would you return to what was familiar? From that moment forward, Mary never left Jesus' side. She walked with him, listened to his words, watched his miracles unfold before her eyes. While others doubted, she believed. While others came and went, she stayed. She was not just a follower, she was a disciple in her own right. And she was more than that. She funded his ministry. She used her own resources to support him, to ensure that the message of hope reached every corner of Israel. She was not just a woman who had been saved. She was a woman with a purpose. But did she know what was coming? Did she sense that this path, this journey with the Son of God, was leading to a cross? She never imagined it would end like this. She had seen him calm storms with a word. She had seen him give sight to the blind. She had seen him raise the dead. So how could this be happening? Mary stood at the foot of the cross. She did not run. She did not hide. She did not deny him. Peter denied. Judas betrayed. The disciples scattered. But Mary, she stayed. She watched as they drove nails through his hands. She flinched at every strike of the hammer. She heard his cries of agony. She felt the earth tremble as darkness swallowed the sky. And then she heard his final breath. It was over. Have you ever lost someone who changed your life? What would you do if everything you believed in was taken away in an instant? The third day, Mary woke before the sun, her eyes red from weeping, her hands shaking as she carried the burial spices. She just wanted to see him one last time. She reached the tomb and stopped. The stone rolled away, the grave empty. Her heart pounded. Who had taken him? Where was he? Tears burned down her cheeks, and then a voice. "Woman, why are you crying?" She turned. She saw a man. She thought he was the gardener, until he spoke one word. Mary. Her breath caught. Her knees buckled. Her soul knew before her mind could comprehend. She looked up and saw him, Jesus, alive, standing before her. She was the first, not Peter, not John, not James, Mary Magdalene, the woman once broken, the woman once tormented, was the first to see the risen Christ. Why did Jesus choose Mary? Why not Peter, John, or James? Could it be that God often reveals himself first to the ones the world overlooks? And then she was gone. The biblical record falls silent. No grand farewell, no final words, no dramatic exit. But her name, her testimony, still shakes the world. Because in that moment, when she stood before the empty tomb, when she heard Jesus call her name, her story became a story of hope for every person who ever thought they were beyond saving. She was proof that redemption is real, that no one is too far gone, that God does not see your past, he sees your future. So now I ask you, if your name was written in history, what would it say? Would your life tell a story of redemption, or would your past define you? For years, they whispered about her. They called her broken, unworthy, too far gone to be redeemed. But God saw something different. She was not her past. She was not her demons. She was not the labels the world placed on her. She was chosen. She was called. She was redeemed. And when the Son of God conquered death itself, when he shattered the grave and stepped into the light of resurrection, he did not first appear to kings. He did not first appear to priests. He did not even first appear to his disciples. He appeared to Mary, the woman once bound, the woman once broken. She was the first to witness the risen Christ, because that is who Jesus is. He does not see what the world sees. He does not measure you by your past. He looks deeper into your soul, into your heart, into what you could become if you only followed him. And now, I ask you, have you ever felt like your past disqualified you from God's love? Think again. God is not finished with you. Tell me in the comments, what part of Mary's story moved you the most? Do you see yourself in her journey? And if you're ready for another story of faith, redemption, and transformation, check out our next video on the life of the Apostle John. You won't see him the same way again.